Okay, so taste. Okay, you've sniffed and smelled as much as you can possibly bear. It's time to take a sip, or rather theoretically, seeing as we're not doing that. Or a bite, and move on to taste. We have 5 basic tastes that are detected in the mouth by your taste receptors, which are just called taste buds. Those 5 are sweet, salty, bitter, and umami. Sweet, salty, sour, bitter, and umami. When you think about eating or drinking, you wouldn't think we'd experience just 5 basic tastes, though. 5 basic tastes though. That's because when we have something in our mouths, whether solid or liquid, we are experiencing a combination of things. The aroma and the mouthfeel are also playing their role. Think about the taste. Think of taste elements like the primary colors. Just like the color blue is blue, and you don't not get it by mixing other colors. You do not get basic taste through combination of other elements. Just like blue is blue, sweet is sweet. Tastes do not come as a result of mixing, whereas aromas can. Another thing that separates taste from aroma is that we sense the basic tastes on our tongue: soft palate, upper throat, and epiglottis. Epiglottis is the dangly dang that's swung at the back of your throat. Okay? Yeah. I wanted to scratch the little dangly dang that's swung at the back of my throat. Yeah. That's an epiglottis. Okay. Tastes are not sensed with our olfactory system. That means that you cannot actually smell sweet, sour, salty, bitter, or umami. Chances are you already know your own palate somewhat in terms of these basic tastes. Maybe you would describe yourself as a sweet person, or maybe you just love those bitter IPAs. Even if it's not on top of your mind, you can probably decode your own preferences. Perhaps you add sugar and cream to your coffee, which cuts the bitterness. Or you might find that you use a little more salt than most of your friends. Recognizing these 5 basic tastes and being able to pick them out of a sensory picture is one of the most valuable tools you can acquire when it comes to tasting beer or food. It sounds simple, but getting the sensory noise out of the picture is fairly hard. Tasting exercises. It's time to practice. For starting out, we recommend picking a very simple item that will be easy to deconstruct, perhaps an orange or a glass of lemonade at room temperature. By eating or drinking something that is at room temperature, you're eliminating the temperature as a variable that might distract you. So today, guys, for when you book a puasa, try to keep this in mind when you're taking those first few, because also the fact that you haven't eaten all day was probably going to heighten your sense of taste as well. So this is be a good opportunity for putting this into practice. Begin by plugging your nose and taking a bite or a sip. Chew the food and let it really coat your mouth. Allow the lemonade to warm and coat your mouth. Go ahead and swallow, but do not unplug your nose. What do you experience without orthonasal or retronasal aromas? Phase, you would have missed that yesterday. Orthonasal is smells before swallowing. Retronasal is smells after swallowing. So whether you're eating or drinking something, when you swallow, so when you finish drinking or eating something, if you simultaneously kind of breathe out through your mouth and nose, then you're going to get elements of smells and tastes that you didn't get before. Okay, go ahead and swallow, but don't unplug your nose. What do you experience without orthonasal or retronasal aromas? If you did not cheat, you should have experienced only the basic tastes of sweet, sour, and bitter, and maybe just a hint of umami, depending on the fruit's ripeness or the ingredients in the lemonade. Go further though. What is the order in which you tasted them, and how intense is each one of these basic tastes? Note, although when you smell, you may smell elements you would call sweet, you are really experiencing the deconstruction of an element. Take honey or maple syrup, for example. They each have an aroma that you might naturally associate with sweet. However, their aromas could be conceivably accompanied with any of the other basic tastes. You know what a really good example of that is? Rum. Rum doesn't taste sweet. In fact, it usually tastes spicy and bitter, right? So, but when you smell it, you smell sugar because that's what it's made of, right? So I think that's a really good example of that sort of thing. Depending on, any of the other basic tastes, depending on the food or drink. So if you smell honey and you describe something as honey sweet instead of just sweet, you have already increased your sensory vocabulary. Now, try again, but this time release your fingers from your nose and as you swallow and exhale, voila. This should have changed your whole flavor experience because now you are actually experiencing the aroma along with the basic tastes. What visual descriptors popped into your mind as you exhaled? How were they similar or different from before? Another fun experiment along the same lines can be done with jelly beans. We are recommending trying the following, which we often do at workshops. First, pour out 10 jelly beans. Now close your eyes, plug your nose, and eat 1 jelly bean. Notice how it's only sweet and maybe sour. Now unplug your nose. Whoa! What was that buttered popcorn? This step is a great way to try tasting blind, where even visual data will not cloud your sense of taste. This is very, very specific. Now pick up a specific color of jelly bean. Repeat the same process as before. In this step, the tasting is not truly blind. You'll come into it with some expectation of flavor and aroma. Still, color does not always correlate to your expectations, so you can get quite a surprise if you taste before you open up to the aroma. So you know, a good example of that would be like red Skittles. Okay, red Skittles over here are strawberry flavored. Red Skittles in Australia are cherry flavored, but they both look exactly the same. So you can imagine, right, if you had a mixed bowl of cherry and strawberry Skittles and you picked one up thinking that it's strawberry and you got cherry, it's going to be quite a different experience and it's something you're going to notice immediately. But if you blocked your nose and then you did the same thing, right, you might just they might taste the same. Green might, so this is pretty much what I just said. Green might be pear or green apple when you were expecting lime. Red could be pomegranate, strawberry, or cinnamon. In between tastings, don't forget to cleanse your palate and clear your olfactory system. Once you've burnt it out, you will have to take a time out and step away in order to reset. When it comes to resetting your palate, free masterclass. It'd be funny if like you ended up having like customers sitting all around. Be like, okay. In between tastings, don't forget to cleanse your palate and clear your olfactory system. Once you've burnt it out, you'll have to take a time out and step away in order for it to reset. When it comes to resetting your palate, water and unsalted crackers work wonders. What sounds like a prison diet actually has the opposite effect. It frees your palate and allows it to continue on your tasting adventure. Cleansing your olfactory system can be a simple act of tilting your head and smelling your shoulder or your arm. That's interesting. Since you're so accustomed to your own odor, by smelling yourself, you are resetting your system to what you're used to. The sweetest thing. Sweet is almost always thought of as pleasant. The word sweet even imparts a positive connotation that reaches beyond flavor. Sweet, especially pure carbohydrate sweet, sends a signal to your brain that energy is on its way to your body, so your brain registered sweet as a reward. Sweet also signals nutrition. Fruit, for instance, is sweet when ripe, with a high sugar content, but bitter or sour when unripe. Whereas bitter compounds are added to prevent you from ingesting things, sugar is often added to help the medicine go down. Where and how you detect sweet can vary in degrees as well as stages. When you taste something, sweet can be detected at the very beginning, somewhere in the middle, or in the finish or aftertaste. All the while, competing with other basic tastes in your brain identifies and catalogs. One of the reasons many people don't care for alternative sweeteners is their tendency to linger in the finish. Additionally, most don't have depth, complexity, or roundness of sweetness that natural sugars do. Think Coke Zero. You know when you drink Diet Coke or Coke Zero, it just tastes like sweet. There's no citrusiness, or it's just sweet, right? And that sweetness also seems to stick to your mouth, like you can't get rid of it. There are hundreds of compounds that taste sweet. How sweet is perceived varies from compound to compound, and when describing sweet, people tend to include the aroma that accompanies the basic taste. What do you think of when you think sweet? What do you think of when you think sweet, Amy? I think chocolate. Chocolate is the first thing that comes to me. True. But I mean, like, based off my, going back to memory and experience and my perception of taste, if you say sweet to me, the first thing that comes to my mind is chocolate, because I'm a chocoholic, and you know, I usually eat milk chocolate, so it's okay. So if, like, in that case, like, your perception of sweet might be more linked to lactose than glucose, right? Chewing gum, okay. Dextrose. So there you go. So already, even then, so watermelon would, that's fructose, right? So that in itself is an example of how our different experiences have shaped our perceptions of taste. Okay, what do you think when you think of sweet? Sugar may be your first answer, but let's take a step beyond that. What about brown sugar or maple syrup? What does honey sweet taste like versus citrus sweet, such as orange juice? If you start thinking about sweet, you may very well start trying together seemingly unrelated foods. For example, the sweet in chocolate is much different from the sweet you get from an apple, but you'll find it similar to the sweet quality of butter. In pairing, you may notice that sweet can cut sweet. Tannins, bitter, roasted characters, capsaicin, spicy heat, acidity, and salt. Salivating for sour. Sure, the classic sour face may be puckered, but sour is a taste that will increase your salivation and make your mouth water. This happens because the acidic quality of sour irritates the nerves on your mouth and sends signals to your brain to release salivation. The higher the concentration of acid, the more saliva you will produce. The body uses saliva to dilute and buffer the acid that is in your mouth, which helps to protect the lining of the mouth, throat, and even the stomach from the destructive qualities of that acid. So, that reminds me of one time me and my friend got really drunk and we did shots of tequila and balsamic vinegar. and it was so weird because it's like you did the shot and then your mouth just immediately went wow. It was just like full of saliva. That's right. Alright, I'm going to finish this bit and then, because we've actually got a few customers soon. Sour and acidity are nature's warnings that something is rancid or spoiled. But sour isn't nearly as disliked by the masses as bitter. When it comes to sour as a taste, it's helpful to start thinking about which acids might be in play. The big ones are citric acid, like lemon-like, lactic acid from milk, and acetic acid, which is from vinegar. Test your palate with condiments. Try a careful tasting of your favorite ketchup, mustard, and salad dressings, which are all full of sour vinegar notes. You could also try pickled veggies for a bit of hit of acetic acid. Fruit juices, jams, and of course anything made with citrus, such as fresh lemonade, are a good place to search for citric acid. Cheeses, sour cream, and yogurt are a great place to taste lactic acid. And surprisingly, so is chocolate. Other acids that we don't commonly think of are malic, being green apple, grapes, rhubarb, tartaric, coming from grapes, banana, apricot, and tamarind, and gluconic, coming from honey, pineapple, and cantaloupe. So I'm guessing the most obvious would be pineapple. So that sourness that you get in pineapple is called gluconic acid. You can see with all of the acids that come into play with sour that not all sours will be described the same way. Sour and acid can cut and balance other sources of sour and acid. Sour and sweet contrast each other to create balance, such as honey mustard or good old sweet and sour sauce. Sour will cut through fat, calm salt, and can contrast tannins as well. Okay, I'll leave it at that because we need to focus on customers, but we'll do more tomorrow.